and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Jones, Geisler,
Here.
Jelly,
Here.
LeBlanc,
Here.
and Mayor Boucher.
Here. Announcements. Do any counselors have announcements they'd like to make?
Good luck to the robotics team, I suppose.
I have just one. I'd like to send condolences to the friends, family of John Warner and the citizens of Rice Lake over the passing of the mayor, John Warner. Communications are placed on file. Presentations. Mr. Mulder, could you give us a short synopsis of both presentations?
The community recreation initiative, we just looked at some key items that we're working on and some dates for the arena, Victor Park, and the trails sections. And then David gave a brief presentation on the alignment of the sewer pipe to connect Oak Ridge Drive with Oak Ridge Road.
Thank you. And now we have public discussion. This is the time that individuals can address the council about any item not on the agenda. We ask that you limit your time to 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone either present online or in chambers that would like to address the council at this time? Under public discussion, is there anyone that wishes to address the council? It's the last opportunity for general public discussion. If you wish to speak to the council, please start with your name and address. With no discussion, we will close public discussion and move to motions. Motion A motion to approve or deny the following new massage license effective April 13th, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. Contingent upon complete application being received, successful background check and license fee paid in full for the Well Company, Leah Burr. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Counselor Jelly. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Counselor Geisler. Roll call, please.
Counselor Geisler,
Aye.
Jelly,
Aye.
LeBlanc,
Aye.
Jones, Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Consent agenda. Consent agenda includes the minutes for the March 2023 city council meeting and the accounts payable. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor LeBlanc. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Jones. Any, roll call.
Counselor Jelly,
Aye.
LeBlanc,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Geisler,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. We have no ordinances this evening. We'll move to resolutions. Resolution 2023-39, resolution authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver lease agreement with the state of Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor Jelly. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Jones. Mr. Mulder.
We've had a lease with the BCA for space in the old city hall, or currently the community building, since back in 2013. That lease is set to expire on June 1st. And we've asked them to increase, we've asked for an increase in the rent. So they're renewing the lease. So for beginning in January, or beginning in June, excuse me.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Is there any public input on this motion? Is there any public input on resolution 2023-39? Is there any public input on the resolution to execute and deliver a lease agreement with the state of Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension? Roll call, please.
Counselor LeBlanc.
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Geisler,
Aye.
Jelly,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2023-40, resolution requesting a free conveyance of a tax forfeit parcel for public right of way. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Counselor LeBlanc, second by Counselor Geisler. Mr. Mulder, would Mr. Johnson be the explain this one?
Yes, please.
Eric?
Great, thank you very much. This is for a land conveyance of 0.62 acres. It's a parcel that's located just east of existing Norway Pines roadway and connects to Highway 53. The purpose of this conveyance would be going towards city right-of-way in order to connect Miller Trunk Highway to some interior lots associated with the Maple Hill plat. Currently, there's 2 lots that don't have access via to Highway 53. And this strip of land would be able to allow that in the future should need be. Currently, there is an existing driveway and some private utilities in there in this strip of land that services a home just north of Miller Trunk Highway. The city would work with the city attorney to draft an easement so the driveway and utilities could continue to exist within the city's right of way at that point.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from council? Okay, public input. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this item? If so, state your name and address.
Brad Edson. My mom is the owner of the property at 5201 Miller Trunk. She is 85, so I'm here representing her just because of convenience. I started this project going 6-8 months ago when I found out it was tax exempt or tax forfeit property. And I contacted the county. That's what got Eric involved with the project, and I talked to Eric. I truly would like to see this 33-foot strip plus the 25-foot strip get out of public domain into private ownership. Based on the map that the mayor gave me earlier today, looking at the parcel that mom owns next to the house, it's got about 2/3 of it is in a wooded swamp, they call it, based on this map. So it's not developable. And you looked at the next parcel over to the north, which is owned by Andy Kretzky, which is AT Mini Storage. He's also got the property to the west, which is approximately 8 acres, I think it was. He has access to his land from that direction. But again, if we go back to the wetlands maps that he had produced when he did his development plan back there, there is quite a bit of wetlands in his section to the north of mom's property. So I don't see any large potential for development back there. I did some research with the county. This will be the 3rd time that the city has asked for that property. One time they asked for it for means of a city park. We are 400 feet from the city of Duluth Airport property. So we are under Zone C of the airport. So restrictions there are limited in what can be done. C is not so bad compared to A and B, but there's still restrictions. Most of it, I believe, is just on height restrictions. Am I correct on that? Any questions from you guys on why I want what I want asking for?
No.
There is a 33-foot strip that was part of the easement when the line was plotted, but it ends at mom's corner, does not go all the way to the Miller Trunk Highway. That is why we're dealing with this 25-foot strip. Trying to figure out. And the history on that 25-foot strip is actually one time before the airport authority bought the property for their access road. It was part of the 40 to the east of us. Just to give you the history now. Somehow the airport authority didn't pick up that 25-foot strip like they did on the one to the east side of the road. That's the history that I can tell you based on what I've done. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I'm just looking at the county map. This would be the land, Marcella Edstrom,
Yes.
and there's the piece with the home on it, and then the piece to the north.
Yep.
And ATK north of that.
And ATK.
They,
How about the, on the east side of that 33 feet? Is there, that is owned by somebody that possibly could subdivide for access off of 53 and then
well, there's a 33-foot strip in front of mom's house, which ends Can you please?
behind LNS. Lendag.
Right there.
It's showing.
Both on the same map, the same.
He's got it.
Okay, so
We're
this
backwards
is the
here.
33-foot strip that was put in when the pond developed as a 40.
Yeah, it is, but it's backwards.
It's worth is on the bottom.
No, the picture itself is, oh, okay.
So
Left is right, right is left.
there was 6 lots plus the house lot. And there was a 33-foot strip access to those 6 lots. 7 lots, excuse me. The airport took the first 2 when they did their expansion back in the 60s or 70s, early 70s, late 60s, somewhere in that time frame. So that 33-foot strip ends at Joe Wadacky's house, which is a 5205 million ton. Eric and I talked about it. We don't have any idea what happened to that strip from there to there. And then there's a 25-foot strip here, along with a 25 strip on this side. The city of Duluth owns this side. This is the tax forfeit. Now, the interesting part of this 33, it still goes back across here, east and west, behind, through the middle of the airport property. So when the airport took the 200 feet off the back of Maple Hill Addition, that easement was never released. You pull it up on a GIS map from the county, GIS, I guess it's a term.
That 33 feet.
Click on that strip, it'll be up in L-shaped piece.
Mhm.
So that little strip is it says on the map here, city of Duluth, but it's
Yeah.
really tax forfeit, or is that?
No,
You're looking at the east side,
that's city of Duluth.
The west side of the road is the 25-foot strip in question.
Yeah, we're on the west side of that.
That one right there. Oh, sorry.
So my question of 5197. Is there a way to get the 5197, the back of 5197?
5197 is to the east, which is where the pool store is.
Oh, that's okay. So that's just what's under construction now.
Which is accessible from highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I talked to him, he had the same problem we have, the back half of his lot is all considered wetlands. So he had moved his property around, placement of his building to facilitate not disturbing wetland. Well, as the mayor told me, that was part of the Amity Creek watershed, so it's creates more issues beyond dealing with watershed issues.
Amity. Drains into the airport.
And if the city does not acquire the property, I will work with the county to acquire it. That was my intention. And then I'll look at the city and get the 33.
33 is the city of Hermantown.
Yes, that's to the north of that existing parcel. So right now, there's 2 lots north of his mother's home, one that's owned by his mother and the other one by ATK. They are separate lots and essentially they're landlocked.
Yeah.
And so by acquiring this strip of land, we would create that umbilicus down to Highway 53. So between that this parcel we're talking about and the 33 feet that the city still has, we would have an access to those 2 lots.
In effect, this
This is the part of the ATK was right here. And this is my mom's property, and this is her house property. There's actually these 2 big, large properties are 2 individual lots, but because of tax purposes, we put them in one lot.
in effect, by acquiring this, we're simply increasing the right of way and removing anything that could be considered what is affectionately known in City Hall as a spike strip. We own the land just despite the other person so that they don't have access to it. This, in effect, it widens the right of way, and the land will last longer than any of us in this room. So to me, it's like, it makes sense for it to be in the right of way. It gives everybody the access that they need. If at some point in time, 100 years from now, somebody wants access to it, that right of way will be there.
City probably would have no desire to sell the 33 feet, correct?
If I own the 25, the city has no reason to have the 33. I mean, I have the abstract where it designates that 33 foot as part of the abstract in the block. So maybe no additional spot. But unfortunately, it ends, as you see in the map here, right here. This is Bill Lagaki's place to farm.
Something happened. It didn't.
And we haven't figured out
Disconnected from that.
where that just how that disappeared, because it was plotted in the original plot. But that 33 went all the way to North Front. Well, this is a crazy situation here with property. Got into it, but eventually I'm going to take over my property. And I want to just
Have the owners,
situations with this.
have the owners of the ATK property, have we talked to them or has anybody communicated with them? They have.
ATK approximately 4+ years ago was approved for a PUD development for the mini storage. As part of a future phase, they show a building that's on the extreme east side of their property. They show a very long road coming from essentially Norway Pines to get to that building. Now with the, if there was the continuation of this right of way and the connection to 53, that could be a secondary connection point to that property. Just as Mr. Mulder said, that we're providing access to two properties that someday may be owned by different parties.
Eric, didn't you state earlier that with the wetland delineation of that ATK lot, that it was found there was a lot of wetlands on the western half of it?
There's quite a bit of wetlands that basically bisect that ATK as well as the property that his mother owns that's not developed. So it's essentially there's a western portion, eastern portion that are developed and they're bisected by that wetland.
And the eastern portion is the part that abuts the 33-foot right of way that we currently have, which would, I don't think we have any knowledge of who might have that in the future, but looks pretty hard for ATK to run that road the way they originally planned from the storage buildings to anything east of there through the wetlands.
It could be it'd be a very expensive, essentially driveway that they'd be connecting those points. But yes, that land does abut the 33 feet and hence abuts this 25-foot strip as well.
Now, the other portion here is the airport authority just had this large strip through the center that they go in and have a roadway on that, which is an access road, and they have a gate set up right here. I've talked to the airport authority about taking some of the Virgin barriers that they got sitting up, I think, right here, try to put them up here to keep people out of there. But we're back in the woods, my mom by herself. Security is an issue. So that's why I was trying to get them to move it up, but they wouldn't touch moving those. So we have access to that, use that as a range to get back to these properties. Prior to ATP owning Carlson properties, which had the property next to the bike shop, bought it from my dad. So one time this was dad's property. So I'm very, as a kid, I walked through that property. I know it very well. And I know how much wetlands is back there. It's wild. So I mean, it is potential access with this city of Duluth property. Now, I'm thinking if we go forward and I can acquire the land in the section fronting Andy's, I would negotiate with him and give him that property so that he would have access from there. Let him acquire that property, I should say. get access from here to here. If he desires to access that property, currently his plan is to access it from the west.
Does the airport use that for access?
They use it, but they don't plow in the winter.
They maybe go once a year and cut the grass to keep the grass down. They never plow. The only time it's been plowed is when they were working on the runway in the wintertime. Then they had a pair of D9s have a race down there to plow because there was that much snow. So it's a very limited access. I mean, we've been at this house in '78, and I would bet 4 or 5 times a year we see people go down there and park their cars at the end of it. Now, post 9/11, they put a fence up around them. I used to be able to walk out on one of my property as a kid. Can't do that anymore with a fence up. Guess I'm open for discussion and ideas and try to solve what you guys are thinking.
Well, as far as the public discussion goes, I think we're past our 3 minutes a little bit.
I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the counselors? Thank you.
After that, is there any other questions from council or staff?
I have one more question, follow up with Eric. I'm still a little confused on the I'm looking at the county map, and there's the 0.62 acres is what we're looking to get, and that dimension of that is 10 feet,
It's actually 25 feet. I was mistaken on a measurement earlier,
25 by whatever, like this.
approximately 900 or
And
so.
there's that other goofy strip next to it. That's the 33.
That's the 33, which is to the west of that, this subject parcel.
And who owns that right now?
That is ours. That is ours per the Maple Hill plat. And immediately to the east of that is the 66 feet that Mr. Edstrom just referenced,
Right.
that the city of Duluth controls, not the city of Hermantown. So we would have to negotiate with some other city if we ever wanted to do any sort of a road. It would be out of our
If
control.
we get that 25 feet, it's 25 plus the 33.
So it essentially it'd be a flag shape. We'd have a 25-foot access onto Miller Trunk Highway. And then once we clear that first property, it will flare out with an additional, it'd be approximately 58 feet.
Next question.
And if you don't acquire it, then you have a right of way that you have no access to because there's private property between that and the city of Duluth property.
This is what we're talking about.
Mind if I do?
And have you talked to the county land folks about this?
33 feet.
They call that.
Yeah.
Yes, if we talk to the county land people about that.
Yes, they're the ones who actually approached us.
Okay.
Yeah, as part of it, when tax forfeit parcels, they're going to release them for sales. They talk to the city first. We have the right of first refusal.
So it's the strip between the 33 feet we have and the strip that the city has.
The city of Duluth.
Yep, city of Duluth. That is correct, yes. So without this strip, we are landlocking
Yeah.
properties.
You already own this strip right here.
So what's the benefit for the gentleman who's owned?
He would own it. He would control it.
Okay.
That's the sole purpose. Because it's right next to,
But then the city's 33 feet would be landlocked.
Right.
Then we have private owners on each side of that 33 feet.
got it.
We might have already said this, but we would still only own 25 feet at the highway.
At the highway and for the depth of the first lot.
Yeah, okay.
Now, we could do some research and.
No,
No,
we
we
do
can't?
not own the 25 feet at the highway.
We
That
would.
entire strip goes from the highway past all those parcels. There's 33 feet of right of way to the west of that,
Yeah.
that we would still own.
So the 25-foot wide strip is from the highway all the way back to the airport.
Yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't show that on San Luis County Land Explorer. I take that
I
back.
think it does.
That might be 53s right away.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
It does show it that way.
Weird. All right. So for all intents and purposes, that land at the back there by ATK owns is still landlocked until we would negotiate with 5205.
No, we're not. The city buys the 25-foot strip.
But,
No, we're not.
but the additional 33 feet starts north of his lot.
Yeah, so
we
the
do.
right of way would only be 25 feet
Yeah,
wide.
so we wouldn't be able to do anything with 25 feet though.
Well, it'd be a narrow strip.
We'd have a narrow strip or we'd have nothing.
So I mean, 25 feet's not even enough to put water and sewer on, as we just learned. Cause they have to be 10 feet apart.
But it is adjacent to the city of Duluth.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we could probably get some agreements to use part of that.
Just making sure I get my head all the way around it before we
I'm like
sound off.
62% there. Cause it's not like our intent of acquiring this is to like do some big development. It's just to have access to land that we already own compared to, and then the gentleman's intent is to just have it in private hands, not city hands. Am I understanding that properly without understanding the 25 feet and the 33 feet and the flag and the, okay.
Well, I think it's in the best interest of the public that the city does acquire this. And understand that, you know, your concerns, but again, with that other 33 feet there between the property. That's my thinking over it.
Give you a little history on that 25-foot strip. That previously was part of the 40-acre plot to the east. And that was not tax exempt till 1909, I think it was, in 1990, somewhere. I have the paperwork. County gave me the history of the property. So there's many years that that's been taxed for, that was 33-foot strip was landlocked. And we moved in 78 and we've been using it without knowing.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the abstracts that said we had a 33-foot easement on the east side of the 40. Till computers caught up with the rest of us. It was an easy way to figure out where that land was.
It's strange the way it was cut up, that's for sure.
Any more questions? Roll call, please.
Did we have the motion in the second? Was it the motion to approve or deny?
Motion was to approve.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Counselor Jones,
Aye.
Geisler,
Aye.
Jelly,
Aye.
LeBlanc,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Resolution 2023-41, resolution approving a request for proposals for design and construction engineering for road improvement district number 541 Hermantown Road and Old Midway Road. Do we have a motion?
All motion to deny
Seconded.
request,
Oh, sorry, you need to finish.
deny the request
Yeah.
to go for RFPs.
Motion by Counselor Geisler to deny, second by Counselor LeBlanc. Mr. Mulder, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Sure. By doing this is basically saying that we will go out for RFP, but we will enter into a contract with the city engineer and we would formalize that at the next city council meeting.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Is there any public input on this resolution? Either in chambers or online? If so, state your name and address. Is there any public input on the motion to deny resolution 2023-41? Last opportunity for public input on this resolution. And just a note going forward, the motion is to deny, so an affirmative would be to agree with that motion. Roll call, please.
Counselor Geisler,
Aye.
Jelly,
Aye.
LeBlanc,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Resolution 2023-42, resolution approving the city of Hermantown approving the prohibition of cannabis products for commercial drivers policy. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Counselor Jelly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Counselor Geisler. Mr. Mulder?
This would restrict the use of cannabis by employees that have a CDL. It only impacts the Public Works Department.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from counselors?
I mean, the only comment would be that it's already a rule per the CDL, right? So it's just instituting it for the city.
And to clarify, this is cannabis, not THC. There's a difference.
I think from a legal perspective, there is some gray area there. And this makes it clear with the city employees that have a CDL that they are not to use cannabis products, including those legal products that they can get
So
buy over the counter.
what if they needed like CBD oil for like knee pain or something? Would this be included in that?
If it has cannabis in it, if it violates this policy, then yes, that would be a violation.
Okay.
And we are in a time where there's labeling issues. It's not clear what you're getting. I mean, these are issues that are being actively dealt with at the state level and with the new rules about edible cannabinoids, labeling, testing, all that stuff is very in flux. And so this really puts it on the CDL drivers to know what they're putting in their body. And if they are putting in products that influence them and it causes an accident, they are violating this policy.
So I know that there is a major difference between like topical CBD oil for pain management and THC.
Yep.
So I think it should be a little more explicit that this isn't gonna prohibit like a CDL driver, like I said, using the topical CBD oil for knee pain.
Yeah, it's not CBD oil.
Okay.
It's
I didn't know if cannabis was like all encompassing of everything that is derived from cannabis compared to THC, the psychoactive component that we're intending to prohibit.
correct. This is the active ingredients of hemp and cannabis and medical cannabis. And it's not the CBD oil, but more the THC.
So can we be more explicit and put THC like we have in our city ordinance with purchasing and selling instead of cannabis? Or is that a redundancy that I'm missing? I personally know a lot of people that use topical CBD for pain and there's no psychoactive effects. Like, so I just feel like this is a little more large blanket. And again, if the intent is related to the THC, which is already prohibited in the CDL, but to be more explicit in that sense.
Anyone else?
Anyone?
Rereading it,
And I could be wrong. That's why I'm asking. But from my understanding is cannabis is, you know, the drug, and then there's multiple derivatives that come from it. And the intent of what we're trying to prohibit is the psychoactive effect. We're not going to prohibit a truck driver who has knee pain that could use CBD oil. I don't know, again, whether or not someone is going to see that, but that's just my question.
Different plans based on understanding the relation or experience. It's less about, but there's a degree in which this policy as is written protects after the fact, these when a positive test occurs in a negative situation, regardless of what someone was putting about it, the city needs that protection that the CDL license holder has understanding and their choices. So whether I think what she does to say is as there are variations of these chemicals work and how these tests are enacted, we need a degree of protection as a city should CDL license holder make a mistake, regardless of what is in their body, should they have a positive test that shows about. The last thing we want is someone to argue that that positive test is due to a CBD oil situation when we're studying the data that says it's a test. I think this particularly protects this for the positive test. And if I'm wrong,
But we don't.
Yeah, and your question is fair. Because in the regulation that we did at the last meeting on the licensing, we focused in on the THC. And this one is more general.
So
And
when,
so if,
my apologies.
if that's a concern and if you want us to go back, it's not a problem to go back and modify this policy to meet what the council wants. If you feel that that's important, this puts the onus on the employee to make sure that they are protecting what's going into their body. And the testing that we do is, if there was testing, it's not for CBD oil, it's for THC and the psychoactive.
Right, so wouldn't that be what we would explicitly state? Because we can't test for cannabis, right? Could be wrong, but we test for THC. Which is the argument.
I don't think you can differentiate though as part of the problem. Like if we have a standard where it says you can't, if you test positive, you're under the influence. If the test can't differentiate, then there's really nothing we can do about that.
Right, but I'm saying like, this is cannabis, like THC is over here, like CBD oil, like there's no psychoactive effects. There's no, like, obviously there's products that contain CBD and THC and do have psychoactive effects. But like a personal example, my father-in-law has like a very bad knee and like the only thing that helps him is topical CBD oil. Like, I'm just like, I would hate for that to be put into this camp and then have it prohibited from someone, like I said, knee pain, arm pain, anything like along those lines. Like if they use CBD oil, it's not going to come back as a positive THC test, but putting cannabis in here, cannabis is that blanket where CBD comes from. And if I'm wrong, that's fine. I just think that if the goal is to prohibit the THC, then be more explicit and state THC.
Can I ask our city attorney a question? Does this prohibit anything more than what's prohibited under the commercial driver's license?
Well,
It might help alleviate the questions up right now.
Does it prohibit more than?
we're intending this to line up with this commercial driver's license law?
There is the problem and the gray area comes in between cannabis and or hemp and cannabis, that there is, one has been allowed, but it's the same product that comes out of it. It's the same THC product that comes out of them. One is just at a lower level than the other. This is, there's a strong argument to be made that if you have a CDL license, you cannot use these products, but it's not crystal clear, and this makes it clearer. And it's not clear. There's a whole spectrum of products. The city does not have expertise in what does and does not make you high. The city just wants to make sure that its employees are operating in a safe manner and that they're not introducing products into their body that could influence their operation of city vehicles that require a CDL. That being said, this is more comprehensive than Councilor Jones is talking about, and it's for the council. If the council feels that that's appropriate to narrow it, I can't speak for Mr. Mulder, but
well, this is what I've heard is one is it more stringent than CDL and the issue and the ability to differentiate when it gets into your system, whether it is a hemp product, a marijuana product, or that spectrum of that. What I've also heard is the issue of topical versus being ingested, and to what extent, if something is topical, does it impair you, or as opposed to being ingested? What we're saying in this case is there may very well be other instances that impair you from your work. We tell employees all the time, if you're taking cold medicine and it's going to make you drowsy, don't operate the equipment. We don't have a specific policy about that, but we tell them you can't be, don't. As a young boy, I thought cigarettes impaired you, so it's like, you shouldn't be drinking or smoking. But the idea here is don't be using cannabis products that may impair you, and keep those out of your system, because if they show up in your system after an accident or after, it's like, then we'll be in a spot where that will put you in a bad spot, employee. So, if there's this question about the use of topical versus it being ingested, we could go send this back and we could, try to massage this a little bit. But the idea is we don't want CDL license holders to be impaired for any of these things. And we are singling this stuff out right now because of the proliferation of these products and all the discussion of legalizing it more recently, the cannabis products, and now potentially the marijuana. So if the issue is ingesting versus topical, we could try to clarify that. We just don't want employees to use these products where it may impair them.
I guess the way I see it is if there's only one test and the test doesn't differentiate, then we should have a policy to protect the public. If the testing comes along where you can differentiate, at that time we could amend the policy to clarify that. That would be my 2 cents.
Any other comments from council? Given the questions in front of us and an alternative presented by Mr. Mulder, we have 2 paths to follow. The makers of the motion could withdraw and table, or we can go further. If no one wishes to withdraw and table, we'll go further with public discussion.
I second it.
He made the motion, you seconded it. We can, that's the proper way to at least handle it.
Yeah, for me, I guess I think that's the whole kind of gray and the whole works. And I think I think the way the city attorney has prepared it is just try to help cover the gray areas. So I'm okay with the way it's written and my second on the motion.
I
Agree with the way it's written as well.
Then we'll move forward to public comment. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this? If so, please state your name and address. Is there any public comment on resolution 2023-42? Please state your name and address for the record.
Brad from 5201 Miller Trunk. One of my other professions, I do RV transport for a company out of Indiana. And we are under similar guidelines if you're CDL employees. I don't hold a CDL, but I am under random testing. And I think the Federal Motor Carriers Association does have some regulations pertaining to this. I think before you go jumping too far, you better make sure what the feds are doing before you guys act individually. That's my comment. I can pull out, I got the green book, the green Bible for CDL owners, motor carriers in my truck if we want to get into it after. Show you what the regulations that they have now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Roll call, please.
Counselor Jelly,
Aye.
LeBlanc,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Geisler,
Aye.
Mayor Boucher.
Aye. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is a motion to recess. We have a motion?
Motion to recess.
Motion by Counselor Geisler. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Jelly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. See you in 2 weeks.